Hello everybody, welcome to today's session. Apologies to anybody who came to the session on Sunday afternoon, specifically last Sunday. We had a technical hiccup and sent a message to as many people as we could to say that we would record during the week for those who'd like to listen to this fourth and final class in the four-part series, Care for Self, Care for Others. So my name is Anna, for anyone new, and I'm a Tibetan Buddhist nun in the Gelugpa lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. So this course is based on the teachings of the great Tibetan spiritual guide and teacher, Venerable Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden, who first came to Australia in 1976 after more than 50 years of study in Tibet and India. So the content of this course has been drawn from one of his 9 remarkable books, Meditations on the Path to Enlightenment. Geshe Loden is from the same extraordinary, peaceful lineage of teachings as His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So the core Path to Enlightenment teachings are really like a giant smorgasbord of practices and meditations and other tools to help us to transform our mind from more negative states to more positive states. And it's very useful if we select a few for our journey. So today we're looking at 3 methods to better cherish ourselves and to better cherish others. So that is the 4 Noble Truths, some aspects of meditation, and our Buddha nature. So we'll begin with the 4 Noble Truths. Great love and great compassion, as discussed in earlier parts of this course, are essential features of the Mahayana teachings. But to truly understand the Buddhist view of compassion, where we want to free all living beings from any forms of adversity or suffering that they might be experiencing, we really need to have some sort of insight into suffering. And this is because the essence of compassion is the wish to release ourselves and others from this adversity. So therefore we must first understand what this focus on discomfort and various forms of pain is all about. So the Buddhist teachings 2,600 years ago, first teaching 2,600 years ago was the 4 Noble Truths: true suffering, true source of suffering, true cessation, and true path. So I'll just give a brief overview of these very important topics. So the first noble truth, true suffering, means we are all caught up in an endless cycle of life and death, and this is called samsara, or cyclic existence. We don't live in a place called samsara. It is our experience and the way that we experience the world that is samsara, and how we view our experiences through our own mind. So as most of us well know, life is full of suffering and life is full of adversity. So there's all types: there's poverty, there's illness, there's disease, there's old age, there's death. We cannot keep necessarily what we want to keep, and we cannot avoid what we do not like. We can't always get what we want, and many times we lose what we have. So there is millions and millions of examples of that. But if you want to see something that's in the world, on the world stage, then just have a brief look at the British royal family, for example, only because they're in the public spotlight all of the time and we follow the various ups and downs of their lives. But all of those forms of suffering are experienced by all families, and a royal family is one where it's really well documented. So we think about, all the different things that they've been through that have caused enormous challenges for them. Despite their access to all manner of wealth and riches, they still are open to all of the vagaries of life and the pain and suffering that comes with those vagaries of life. Then also other forms of suffering, everything is always changing, which we've all seen so clearly during the pandemic era. Many times we feel lonely and sad by the constant changes in circumstances. If this is all we know, we often suffer. So when we are free of that experience, it is called nirvana. So that is the opposite of samsara. It is known as nirvana. So secondly, of the Four Noble Truths is a true source of suffering. And this true source of suffering, this means that our mental habits are based on the cause and result of our karma, and also on delusion, on these two aspects, on karma and delusion. Another word for delusions are negative states of mind, or negativities like anger and pride and jealousy and grasping. So let's have a quick look at delusion and karma. So what happens with delusions is that they cause our mind to be very unpeaceful. There is a cause for our suffering, and it can contribute to why we might find it difficult to meditate for long periods of time. And when the delusions or negative minds are very active, they can impact our sleep and lead to lots of stress and agitation. So a clear example of a busy and unpeaceful state is when the mind of desire, for example, is strong. And this would be something like wanting so many good things without a good motivation. So the mind of grasping and attachment is overactive, and it's uncomfortable in its nature. For example, an example might be if a person's seen an ad for a new car. He or she can become quite transfixed. Doesn't have to be a car, but in this case, let's say it's a car. Quite transfixed with the idea of buying a new car, and comes up with a host of reasons, justifications, why this is really urgent, even though the current car is fine. Instead of taking time until the mind has settled with this excitement around buying a new car to look at all the pros and cons of such a step, this car buyer is purely fixated on working out when and how and where to get this car. So if the grasping or the mind of attachment is very strong, this person will think of very little else until its purchase. Most of us at some point in time have done this kind of grasping for different objects at some time, whether it's for a type of food, or for its new job, or for its desperation to go on holiday. There have been times, most likely for most of us, that we have had this kind of grasping where we haven't paused, we've just gone headlong into saying, I need this thing now. So that's an example of a mental state that is overactive and uncomfortable, and may be sensible, but it may not be sensible because we haven't taken the time to think it through properly and let that mind of desire and grasping settle. So the Buddhist Geshe explains that we all have, Geshe Loden explains in the Path books, that we all have what is known as 5 aggregates or skandhas. And these are form and feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness. So these can be described, I've seen these described, as the different factors required for our experience of life. So the aggregates of an ordinary person, which is all of us, most of us, unless the aggregates of an ordinary person are contaminated by delusion and karma, which both continue our experience of samsara and cyclic existence. Through these 5 aggregates, moving with us both within our present life and also from this life until the next. That is, unless we make the decision to intervene and to reduce them, quieten them down, these negative minds, and remove them. So by taking up some of the mind training tools, such as meditation, such as mindfulness, such as developing virtuous minds, We have the opportunity to cut through and to do things very differently than our present habit patterns allow. Because what happens is with our delusions, they become habits. So we often find ourselves reacting to circumstances in the same way over and over again. So we need tools to intervene and to do life differently. So that's why tools like meditation, like listening to such teachings, like meditating and practicing are very, very useful, because they can break down lifetimes of habit, of how we actually have responded to situations. So the second of the true sources of suffering is, in Buddhist philosophy, is karma, and that's defined as action with a cause and a result. So karma is a really extensive subject, but one thought to contemplate and think about is why, for no clear apparent reason, some people are experiencing war and tragedy, and others have easy wealth and good conditions. So Buddhism explains that this comes from previous causes. Again, without intervention, delusions continue to arise, and what happens from that is more negative karma is created and continued suffering. So there are many types of delusions or negative minds, and 6 of these are known as what is known as the root delusions. They're attachment, anger, ignorance, pride, doubt, and deluded view. So that's a brief summary of this true source of suffering, which come from our negative minds and our karma. So the third of the 4 noble truths is known as true cessation. And this is peace through knowledge. This is listening and thinking and meditating and starting to move through steps to pacify the mind. We can overcome delusion and we can overcome karma. This is what Buddhism teaches. The mind can and has the full capacity to become free from all of this negativity and all of this suffering if we partake in the tools, if we take up the tools. And then when we achieve freedom from suffering, from our delusions, we reach the state of nirvana. We're freed from our delusions and we're freed from our negative imprints in the form that comes in the form of our karma. So by stopping the cravings, the suffering is stopped. Like samsara, nirvana is not a place, but a state of mind. The state of nirvana is the permanent release from the delusions. When we have gained a complete understanding of samsara, by contemplating the many features of suffering, we will generate the energy and commitment to abandon and end our afflictions. Our attitude will be like that of a person caught in a house raging with fire. We will be that determined to overcome this situation. We will desperately want to get out of this house, of this situation, of the suffering, of all of our delusions, our negative minds, and our negative karma, when we see it very clearly. So that is the true cessation, to have achieved that mind that is really, really keen, really, really dedicated, really committed to ending the suffering for our own benefit and for the benefit of other people. So the fourth of the 4 noble truths, true path, which is comparing the painful experience of cyclic existence with what is actually possible. And when we do that, we'll be motivated to practice the path to enlightenment, and take all of the steps that we need to be free of these negative mental habits based on karma and delusion. and to gain a really deep awareness and realizations. And ultimately, we can gain the state of enlightenment as did Shakyamuni Buddha and other great beings. So by meditating consistently and strongly on the path of cessation, all negative filters and approaches and karma will evaporate, and eventually there will be not even a trace of them. As a result, we will naturally think of others, will naturally support others, and naturally collaborate. We ourselves will be unbelievably happy and peaceful. And there are all sorts of different gradations as the practitioner takes that journey. So they may begin with very strong negative habits, with a lot of negative karma to clear, but as they're going step by step through the path and through the practices, these will step by step dissipate as well. So from that springboard, let's explore different forms of meditation from the Tibetan Buddhist collection. There is a handout of some basic meditations. If you would like one to help you practice, please email events@bodhichitta.org and please put in the subject line, put Anna Meditation Handout. So, all about the mind. We'll begin with a quotation by Geshe Loden, and then we'll do a little bit of single-pointed meditation to withdraw our mind from the earlier activities of your day and to bring us to focus more closely on the subject. So Geshe Loden said, when talking about the mind, by way of the mind, the circumstances of your personal reality are created. And because meditation directly addresses the mind, it is key to creating a reality that is happier, healthier, more peaceful and satisfying. So let's unpack that a little. Meditation opens us to the world of the mind. As we investigate the nature and pervasiveness of the mind, more and more we realise that in fact there is no other world than that of the mind. The Buddha teaches that the condition of our mind literally shapes how we experience the world. Mind alone determines whether we will experience happiness or sadness. Meditation for the mind is like exercise is for the body. Therefore, it is the key to creating a happier, healthy, more peaceful and satisfying reality. In its lessest moments, our mind is captured by greed, anger and self-obsession. When such a mind has great energy, it can ruthlessly destroy our happiness and can ruthlessly destroy the happiness of those around us. It leads to actions which hurt others. And this in its turn, as we referred to when we talked about karma, this inevitably brings a rain of suffering and miserable experiences, all the while establishing and reinforcing patterns of behaviour that recur almost endlessly with little hope of control. For example, 1 minute we are having happy times with a loved one, and then consumed by anger about a trivial issue, we might find ourselves saying things we will deeply regret. According to Geshe, conversely, in our better moments, we are capable of great acts of love and peace, free of the three primary types of negative minds: attachment, ignorance and anger. Our mind will be fused with compassion. Our mind then fused with compassion and wisdom will become a complete wellspring of happiness, joy and contentment. Therefore, mind is of supreme importance. Some regular formal practice, even a little if you're busy, is the key. Even 15 minutes 3 times a week will step by step begin the process of settling mind and will also bring some new perspective. Through applying simple techniques and some level of consistency, we can address any of our negative thinking, such as anger, irritation, frustration, pride, jealousy, low self-esteem, big ego, indecision, poor judgment, and so on. All of these can be modified through our practices. So, very importantly, at the same time, we then create the space to bring very positive qualities into our lives, such as stability, greater concentration, space and quiet, relaxation, better decision-making, presence, focus, love, compassion, wisdom, clarity, generosity, and patience, and so many other peaceful and enjoyable and happy qualities for ourselves and those who we engage with. So we'll now explore the 3 main types of meditation and close the session later with a very beautiful rainbow meditation. So let's begin with a breathing meditation to settle our mind and be very present with our chosen activity here. And this is an example of the first kind of meditation that we'll talk about, which is single-pointed meditation. And it's also bringing in a visualization because we're going to be visualizing or focusing our mind strongly on the breath, as we have in previous sessions. So sitting with a nice straight back, with our shoulders relaxed, our right hand and our left hand, tips of the thumbs touching, resting in the lap, and our head slightly forward, the tongue on the roof of the mouth, just resting behind the teeth, which prevents the build-up of saliva. Our elbows slightly away from the torso. So we can take a deep breath, raise our shoulders and let them relax with a sigh, and we can let our body soften and relax. Either close our eyes or leave them a little bit open to let in some light, which helps prevent sleepiness. So before we begin any meditation, it's a really useful idea to begin with a positive motivation for doing so. This strengthens our meditation, it strengthens our imprint and our purpose. It improves the positive energy that we bring to our meditation. So we think along these lines. We generate the wish to use the positive or mental qualities we develop in this session to benefit ourselves and all others. Strengthens our meditation, creates positive imprints on our mind, and ensures the investment of time and energy is even more worthwhile. Having established our motivation, the object of concentration is the sensation of the breath as it enters and leaves the body. Choose the place that suits us best, watching the breath, the rising and falling of the diaphragm, or the in and out of the nostrils, and some people even prefer the upper chest. We observe, we focus our attention on observing the breath as clearly as possible as it goes in and out of the nostrils, or the rising and falling. And for this short duration, we will discard all other thoughts. All memories or plans for the future, for Christmas, worries, daydreams, And any feelings we have, any sensations, with a clear goal to settling the mind and creating more spaciousness and serenity. This may be challenging, especially with so much going on in these unusual COVID times. But even if we find that our mind is still busy, just the wish and the effort to create more peace and spaciousness will bring benefit, because we are creating an imprint. Meditation is a learned skill, just like cooking, playing, soccer, yoga, or anything we start. Very few people can jump in and do a new activity well immediately. Meditation is just the same. All thoughts, sounds, and sense awareness, any tingles and itches on your body, these are mere distractions from the object of concentration. Whenever they appear to the mind, we use a small part of our mind to label them as mere distraction and bring the attention back to the sensation of the rising and falling of the breath. If we want, we can think, I am breathing in, I am breathing out, if this helps us to concentrate. Time is precious. This is time just for yourself. To clear the mind and regain real presence, focus and equilibrium. Time to get everything working well again. Create spaciousness, to be completely present in this moment. Therefore, we gently let go of all other sensations, all other thoughts. And if they keep popping in, we just do that again. Be simple and uncontrived. The aim is to bring our mind to a beautiful place of stillness. Stillness becomes like a tranquil lake, unruffled by even the slightest breeze. unruffled by the ripples of leaves and birds landing, completely clear, completely still, completely peaceful, completely at one. So when you're ready, you can release your concentration. So what is meditation in Tibetan Buddhism? It is quite specific in its shape and form. Some features of meditation are very similar to other forms that are taught in many different modalities, and other aspects are very different. For example, in Tibetan Buddhism, meditation is defined as thoroughly and deeply acquainting the mind with objects of virtue. So this object of virtue is any object which subdues agitated states and causes the mind to become more peaceful, contented and happy. Therefore, meditation and mindfulness can also be practiced at any other time, apart from, in fact, all the time, not necessarily just while we're sitting on a cushion. So it really involves directing our attention to a particular aspect of our mind, having a deeper understanding of our attitudes and being more deliberative of what we are thinking and doing and why we are doing it. In many circumstances, our minds, we are quite reactive to circumstances and situations, as we mentioned earlier. The use of the term mind here refers to all of our thoughts and all of our feelings, all of our emotions and intuitions, etc. So we might have, in fact, a whole attitude sitting underneath our day-to-day thoughts that might need unpacking and may need recalibrating to bring this peace and happiness that we so desire. Formal and informal meditation will help us to do that work. Our underlying reasons for a decision may be helpful to ourselves and others, or they may reflect very self-focused thinking. So purely self-focused thinking will contribute to that lack of peace. A good meditation practice will help us to see that motivation more clearly and overcome these and turn around these underlying attitudes, because we will have understood that what they are, and we will have understood that they're not actually helping us. So our responses to the circumstances of life are often based on what are called the afflictive emotions and faulty views. In reverse, positive minds and attitudes are by nature relaxed and peaceful and are the root cause of all of our happiness. So positive states of mind include the mind of relaxed and stable concentration, the mind of generosity, wishing to care for others, to assist them in various ways, the mind of patience that is able to readily accept any situation or conditions with a mind of patience and deal with them. And altruistic states of mind, such as a mind of love that wishes for another to have happiness, and compassion that wishes for another to be free from suffering, and wisdom that gives insight into the nature of reality. So these are examples of positive states of mind, which we've a little bit more elaboration on the various positive states of mind that we've mentioned earlier. All these can be classified as positive states because they unfailingly benefit both ourselves and others. And the key word here is benefit. This becomes a very important filter in the development of our minds of virtue, is whether this action or activity or thought is going to bring benefit. So positive minds create good experiences irrespective of the external conditions and situations. They really are a more enlightened response to the world than being tossed around by waves of situations which are inevitable. We're all going to experience many different situations, the moods and the circumstances and emotions and feelings. As such, these positive minds, such as kindness and generosity and peace and insight, can be regarded as our best friends because they come with us when we develop them. They come with us wherever we go and allow us to make the best of whatever situation we find ourselves in. And that is dependent to our karma, of course. So Tibetan Buddhist meditation has greater purpose to reach the state of fully enlightened being, like an ultimate course for personal growth, where everything, mind, body, emotion, spirituality, are in fact in perfect accord. On the way, it can be expected our appreciation, our approach will improve and grow, and so will our happiness at the same time. So Tibetan Buddhism offers this wonderful combination of stabilizing meditation, analytical meditation covering many, many beneficial topics and methods to profoundly and permanently transform our mind. And that's why I referred to it earlier as a smorgasbord, because it really is a smorgasbord. There are so many different tools and meditations that we can take up. It is this experiential, transformational aspect of Tibetan Buddhism that is so interesting and inspirational for those of us interested in a deep, abiding personal growth and being best placed to help our world through our own approaches. The very thought that we can, through meditation, actually become a more highly evolved human being, a better version of ourselves, is exceptional. So another aspect of that I mentioned is informal meditation. So this is also very important. When we become more skilled, we can also meditate, and when we become more knowledgeable, we can also meditate, that is to develop virtuous minds, developing beneficial and virtuous approaches. We can do this throughout the day through mindfulness. We wake with the thought, today I am going to do the best to help others. During the day, we continuously offer our positive activities to the benefit of ourselves and all others. We try and think about positive qualities and opportunities we can find to help our love and compassion and patience grow. So during our shower, we might think about washing away all of our negative thinking. We reflect on our meals as opportunities to be strong and healthy and rejoice in our good fortune for having such good food and good conditions. If we are preparing food for others, we can do our best to make that really delicious as an offering to others. We go to work and our other activities. we reflect on the contribution that our work is making to the well-being of our society, to the well-being of our family as we're bringing in an income, and also, of course, to our own well-being. So we can think about that quite clearly and be very clear about why we're going to work, not because it's something that we just have to do. Then at the close of the day, we can reflect on what aspects of our day has worked, what could have been done better tomorrow. If we'd had a little disagreement with somebody, could we have handled that better? Could we have approached that better, and maybe with less frustration or irritation? So we just do a little bit of a weighing up of how the day went. So there are many, many different ways that we can informally develop the mind of virtue, positive minds throughout the day, and we can be quite creative in how we do that, and we think of the different aspects. For example, if we have a cat or a dog, then we might also, think about our caring and our kindness towards those animals as we feed them and look after them. So there's many, many different ways that we can embrace developing minds of virtue as we go about our normal business. We can even dedicate our sleep to becoming enlightened, thinking through this sleep, I will become refreshed and ready to contribute again tomorrow to whatever way I can to make, to assist my own life, the life of those who I know and encounter, and the well-being of our community. So there are 3 types of meditation which employ 3 basic functions of the mind. There's single-pointed meditation, which uses the capacity for clarity, stability, and knowing directly. So that's what we were doing before, was single-pointed meditation, which is going to increase our spaciousness and our clarity, and it's going to increase our stability, and it's going to eventually increase our knowing directly, knowing what is the best thing to do, our decision making. Analytical meditation is as it sounds. It uses logical reason capacity of mind to understand aspects of Tibetan Buddhism more deeply, and then visualization harnesses the power of imagination. So going through each of those in a little bit more detail, single-pointed meditation is also called stabilizing meditation or calm abiding or absorption. It allows the mind to relax and to be still. In single-pointed meditation, we give up all other thoughts and sense awarenesses and focus on the one object. We can actually choose any object, but we often start with the breath. Normally we find that the mind chatters continuously in an uncontrolled manner, so we don't have much experience of this mental stability. Often when people start to meditate, they are quite surprised of how busy the mind is and how it is quite a process to bring about this lovely stillness. So through different associations, our mind often jumps from one association, one thought to another, and the next to the next. And we normally refer to this as too much thinking, where the mind hops around without being able to abide peacefully and quietly. So this internal dialogue is in fact continuous. We're actually doing that most of the time, but until we practice concentration on one object, it's actually hard to notice it. So whilst meditating, on the breath, for example, we might suddenly remember something that we need at the shops. And so then our focus, instead of going back to the breath, is suddenly on, what are we going to have for dinner? The next thought is, the shopping list, and we start building the shopping list. So instead of concentrating, this is just one of millions of examples of concentrating on an object of concentration, in this wonderful opportunity for a mental break, we are mentally in the aisles of Coles or Woolies or our favourite supermarket. So this is the way the mind just hops through this little dialogue. When we are agitated and something has happened that has caused us to become agitated or roused in any way, this rate of mental hopping around speeds up and it becomes even more discursive. Is it this or is it that? And our mind is sort of rolling over on a subject. such as if we're very excited about buying our car that we mentioned before, or if something untoward has happened, there's been an argument and we're thinking about the rights and wrongs. And at such times, it's really, really hard to see things really clearly. That is why a regular meditation practice is sometimes called mental hygiene, because it settles the mind and it gives us that clarity to think things through properly and at space. When our mind is very agitated, we can't see things clearly, and it's really, really not a good idea to make decisions in that kind of state, but just to wait until the mind has settled down. And we can meditate if we are settled enough to do that, or we can go for a walk, or we can stare at a beautiful view to help that process, or if none of those are working, we might even want to watch a little bit of television until our mind has settled. So this stream of dialogue actually shapes the way that we experience and deal with the world. For example, if we have a habit of complaining, then various injustices and reasons to complain appear to our mind continuously. If we're insecure, then we might tend to see a threat lurking around every corner and in every engagement, and we continually mentally justify, and we might continually mentally justify actions in case we're a challenge. So we might, justify those kind of responses. If we habituate anger, our internal dialogue will be a commentary on how annoying or insulting various people or situations might be, or how irritating we find their habits. So one way to get a sense of our internal dialogue is to sit and watch the mind from a distance without reacting to it, judging it, or trying to influence these thoughts in any way. Just watch the thoughts rise and disappear, just like clouds floating by in the sky. So that's another method. Don't get caught up with any of these thoughts that arise. We just watch them and let them go. So that's another one that you might want to try. So because our minds are so habituated by agitation, we don't tend to notice this continuous mental commentary that is going on until we try to meditate. And as I said, it can be quite a shock at first. So there are two main enemies to a really wonderful stabilizing meditation, and it is possible to eventually to meditate continuously on stabilizing meditation, to able to continuously without any discursive thought, but that's a very big practice, and it needs some many practices, a long practice of 6 months retreat to be able to do that, and most of us are not ready to do that. It is possible, but there's two main enemies to a stabilizing meditation, that is agitation and dullness. So dullness, as it sounds, is a mind becoming sleepy, and that's in contrast to the very agitated mind. So these are the two enemies of very stabilized meditation. There's also a whole study, which probably do it another time, on calm abiding, which takes us through actually 9 stages to reach that stage of continuous stabilizing meditation or single pointed meditation. But without going on that retreat that I mentioned, we are able to get to about halfway. I understand we're able to get to about halfway through the 9 stages through our normal meditation practice, which is, for most of us, a long way from where we are now. The first stage is to be able to meditate without any discursive thought for about a minute. The next stage is 4 minutes, and so on. It goes up right through these 9 stages. So this is an incredibly beneficial practice to be able to get our mind more spacious and more stable. The Buddha himself actually described it as tuning a guitar, because we're finding that magic place in between agitation and in between dullness and sleepiness. So it's a very special and stabilized place in between the two of those. So the second form of meditation is taught in Tibetan Buddhism is analytical meditation. And this is a capacity for logical analysis, and this is actually begins with listening to the teaching. So the recommended way to listen to instructions on meditation is similar to the approach someone in the past might have been taken in testing gold. The Buddha, who lived 2,600 years ago, approximately 2,500 or 600 years ago, said that we should not believe anything without checking the logic. So he explained that a gold buyer would not take the advice of the seller. He or she would run their own tests on the pure gold. And these 3 tests would check that it's pure. First it would be rubbed, then it would be cut, then it would be melted. And then after that, the buyer might consider buying the gold. So the same with, he said that should be applied to these teachings, that they should be completely and thoroughly checked. And in fact, you shouldn't believe anything that I'm saying to you today. It's completely better for you to check that up yourself. So the emphasis is to rely on our own powers of reasoning rather than to rely on somebody else's powers of reasoning, regardless of how knowledgeable or charismatic they may be, or regardless of how appealing the subject may initially seem. In this way, not only are we using our own powers of analysis, but if we deeply accept the logic of analysis, it will be a much deeper and more profound understanding and experience, and potentially transformational in the way that we see the world. So there are 2 main purposes of an analytical meditation. The first is deepen our understanding of topics like the nature of the mind, of karma, of bodhichitta, enlightenment, and some of the more philosophical concepts. And the second is to train the mind to see the disadvantages of mental afflictions that we've talked about earlier, such as anger, and the advantages of positive states of mind like patience, new ways of looking at them and relating to the world. As a result, new ways of relating to the world and understanding the world will, in fact, once we understand these emotions, these positive and negative states of mind, when we understand them fully, they will become automatic. We will respond when we fully understand them, we fully see how they work, when we fully accept the logic of them, when we've both analysed them and then focus on stabilisation meditation, then they will become automatic and spontaneous aspects of ourselves, and very, very transformational. So step by step, we develop a solid understanding of the topic. Once we have arrived at a conclusion, we use single-pointed concentration meditation to focus and deepen our understanding of each of the topics. So all negativities, in fact, can be reduced through this method of understanding the issues, selecting the right meditation tools, and abandoning the mental habits that cause them. Some people hang on to their deep hurts for their entire lifetimes, carrying giant chips on their shoulder because of various things that have happened to them. The same for developing specific qualities. For example, if we want to develop the mind of great love, so we want to get rid of our negativities, we want to get rid of the aspects that are bothering us. The same is for developing the specific qualities. If we want to develop the mind of great love, wishing for all others' happiness, or the mind of patience, then we analyse the topic, check if we agree with the hypothesis, come to a conclusion, and then meditate single-pointedly on that. When we meditate on this conclusion, this is a very powerful combination of stabilisation and analytical meditation, and the core of the transformational aspect of Tibetan Buddhist practice. And once we have gained a proper understanding of the many stages of the path to enlightenment, we blend them through a combination of mindfulness, concentration, and analysis. Listen to a person talking about the topic, we read on it, up on it, we may read up on it, which is also part of the path of listening. And we think about all of these aspects. We think about what we've read, we think about what we've heard to verify the logic and potentially check references. And then when we've come to a conclusion, we meditate with the aim to gain a full understanding or a realization of the specific topic that we're exploring at that time, whether it's one of the topics to be known, such as karma or nirvana or samsara, or one of those topics that's to be understood, or emptiness, or whether it's one of the qualities that we're wanting to cultivate, or one of the qualities we're wanting to get rid of. So to have a really good understanding through logic and analysis, through listening, thinking, and meditating, and then to have this single pointed meditation on these topics will bring the transformation that we need. So the more we hear, the more we gain the wisdom of hearing. The more we think, the more we analyse and apply logic to gain the wisdom of analysing. And the more we meditate, the more we will gain realisations on the various subjects that we're wanting to adopt. So there is, I'll just touch briefly, there is a third, because I also want to touch on Buddha potential. There's a third type of meditation that can be incorporated with both our stabilisation and analytical meditation at appropriate times. And this type of moving meditation uses the symbolic power of visualised images. Mind uses imagery constantly to explore and understand our world. Our imagination can be very powerful, so the incorporation of visualization is then a very skillful way to help our mind to undertake the transformational process. In meditation, we can use these visualized imagery to influence our mind. We visualize our bodies as radiant light natured, then it is very difficult to feel depressed. For example, this visualization brightens and lifts our mind. It becomes even more powerful if we associate the visualized images with positive qualities that we want to cultivate. We can use any image we want, from the breath to a flower or a colour. Many people like to meditate on Shakyamuni Buddha. This is because of the double benefit that happens by meditating on a great being like Shakyamuni Buddha, or maybe a deity such as White Tara, because of the double benefit of increasing our concentration and the imprint of the positive qualities that the Shakyamuni Buddha and White Tara represent. So every part of the Buddha's body represents a positive aspect of the mind, such as his hands are long and beautiful, due to immediate generosity whenever he was requested. So that's one of many, many different examples. He has long earlobes because he has achieved the quality of listening. It's a beautiful melodious tongue. He has so many other qualities, 32 marks and 80 minor signs, 30 major marks and 80 minor signs. So many different qualities of the Buddha, and they relate to aspects of the mind. So it's a very powerful and a very beautiful way to work on transforming our mind. So Buddha potential, I wanted to mention this as a closing topic because it can be very inspiring. So I'll quickly do a very short overview of Buddha potential. The potential of mind is hidden from us. Reflecting on the underlying nature of consciousness, in fact, enables us to recognise our potential. So generally, many people feel limited in terms of who we are and what we can do and what we can know. For example, we may feel that we're completely ill-equipped and unable to generate the extraordinary mind of great compassion towards all living beings, because we can't feel any kindness towards those who have harmed or criticised us in the past. If there is someone we don't get on with, it can seem to be impossible to have goodwill towards them, as we are always uncomfortable when they're around. Or we might feel that we can never develop relaxed, clear concentration because our mind is always so busy and agitated, stressed or worried, that we have a very deep habit of that. There is never time without something to worry about. This sense of limitation arises because we don't recognise the potential within. The nature of our mind, the Buddha taught, is clear and knowing. It simply knows objects, just like a mirror reflects whatever is put in front of it. Mind reflects or knows all the perceptions, thoughts and feelings that appear to it. This nature of mind is never polluted or stained by negative thoughts and feelings. It is like gold in that it may be covered in dirt but doesn't corrode, or like an expansive blue sky that may be obscured by clouds but is always there because it's behind the clouds. It's beautiful, blue sky. Doesn't matter if the sky is filled with clouds, this beautiful blue sky is simply sitting behind the clouds. So no matter how persistent our delusions are, like anger, the nature of the mind is pure and unpolluted, the Buddha taught. It simply knows objects. As our mind has the capacity to know any object, there is no reason why it can't know patience, no reason why it can't know loving kindness or great compassion, instead of the limiting worry, irritation and stress. So there is no actual inherent restriction within that prevents us from developing causes for future happiness. All positive states are possible for us to develop. There is no intrinsic obstacle that prevents us from eliminating all causes of unhappiness and negative states of mind. And there are stories of people who in a very short period of time have recognised that and have been able to transition their minds from very negative states to very positive states within a short period by recognising and being supported by some of the great teachers or Shakyamuni Buddha himself to see that they have Buddha potential and that they do not have to live with the suffering of their negative minds. So develop potential. As well as the nature of our mind being pure, we also have the seeds of all good qualities within our mind streams. Every time in the past that we have acted with generosity, with ethics, with patience, with love and compassion, we have actually made an imprint on our mind. Whenever we have developed some concentration or some wisdom, we have planted latencies or positive potentials in the mind stream. With the practice of meditation, these seeds, these imprints, which can be seen as seeds, can be nurtured, and then they can blossom into all good qualities and happiness. So that is very, very possible. So for that to happen, some regular meditation practice, some regular for mindfulness, developing our virtuous minds, however small, is a key. We start with short periods of breathing meditation, 3 to 5 times a week. Then perhaps we might consider taking on an analytical meditation, like developing compassion or dealing with anger. And then step by step, all of those interests and capacities will grow. And we'll be able to develop the mind, develop our potential. As the Buddha explained, that every single one of us, every single living being has that potential. So we're going to close this session by doing a very beautiful meditation called the Rainbow Meditation. And it's Rainbow Body Visualized Meditation. And this was passed to his students by the great Tibetan scholar and meditator Venerable Geshe Loden, the gentleman just behind me. So if we resume our meditation posture, and just bring our mind with our arms away from the torso and our right hand and our left, and our head facing down, not too high, not too low, middle way. Our back nice and straight. Can be in a chair or on the floor, whichever's the most comfortable. And we just return our mind for a second to the breath. Then we visualise a drop at the crown of the head. It's very colourful and peaceful, about the size of a pea, transforms our crown into rainbow coloured light. So now the crown, the whole crown and head area is light-natured, the colours of the rainbow. Visualise that this coloured drop of light now moves down from our crown and down to your throat. The light emanates from the area of your throat and transforms the area of your throat, neck and shoulders to rainbow light. The coloured drop of light then moves down from your throat to your heart area, known as the heart chakra. Transforms your heart area into radiant rainbow light. The brilliant rainbow coloured drop of light then moves from your heart area down to your navel. Light rays emanate from the drop and transform your navel area into radiant rainbow light. The rainbow drop of light then moves down from your navel to the base of your spine. Radiates light and transforms that area at the base of your spine to radiant rainbow light. You see all of these 5 different areas in the appearance of radiant rainbow light. The brilliant, beautiful rainbow light emanates from each of these areas and then transforms your whole body into radiant rainbow light, from the top of your head to the end of your toes. Your whole body is rainbow light-natured, clear and bright, very beautiful, light without any heaviness. This rainbow light also transforms your mind. with its calm and peaceful aspect. Then visualize that light emanates from your body in all directions. This brilliant, beautiful rainbow light extends out from your body and transforms the room you are in, so that your environment transforms into rainbow light. The light emanates further and further from your body, transforming the house you're in into rainbow light. Then your garden, the streets, the buildings, all the people in the streets, in the buildings, all the animals, everything within your immediate area is transformed into rainbow light. This rainbow light continues to emanate, so it goes out throughout your suburbs and city. All the people, animals, the buildings, the environment, everything transforms into rainbow light. All your state, and all the people, and it even extends further to incorporate all of your country. All the environment transforms into rainbow light. Transforms, the rainbow light then extends further across the oceans, to other countries, to other types of people, all the beings in the oceans, all the beings in all of the countries. Everything becomes the nature of rainbow light. Finally, visualize the whole earth and all the beings on this earth in rainbow light. We meditate on this visualization as best we can. We lose the visualization, re-establish it, the whole earth and everyone in it, and focus on that single-pointedly. The whole of planet Earth completely filled with rainbow light, brilliant, bright, light-natured, with the energy of the rainbow light. Next, we imagine that the rainbow light-natured Earth and all of the beings in it collect and dissolve back into your own light nature body. Visualize your rainbow body collects from your feet upwards, step by step, eventually dissolving into the rainbow-coloured drop of light at your crown. All that is left is a small rainbow-coloured drop of light. Visualize the small rainbow drop of light becomes smaller and smaller and finally dissolves into space. We meditate on this feeling of spaciousness. Through this meditation, your body becomes very light and energetic. Whatever feeling of peace and calm you have generated through the meditation, continue it at least until the end of the day. Everyone you meet, everyone you encounter, then, in recognition of the effort of this meditation and this class, we can dedicate the positive energy we have created towards more happiness in our life, more good conditions, better health, and also happiness and good conditions for the people we love and for all living beings. Also think of those who are experiencing difficulties at the moment through the loss of loved ones, through illness, and every other form of suffering. And wish that they quickly return to happier states. So this concludes the introductory teachings for this year. If you'd like to hear more Dharma over the summer months, and for any of the guided meditations that you can benefit perhaps by repeating a number of times, please, you're very welcome to visit the Tibetan Buddhist Society YouTube channel for all of our classes and talks that have been published and are sitting on that channel since the commencement of the COVID era in April 2020. So there is a banquet of different talks and meditations to select from. So a new series, introduction series, will be presented in the first term, which starts in February 2022. There's also potentially a retreat coming up at the end of January, so I recommend that you keep an eye on our website or our Facebook pages, or if you would like regular updates, please email events@tushita.org and ask to join the email and newsletter list. So Tushita is spelled Tushita. So it's events@tashita.org if you would like our regular updates. So thank you very much for joining me in this course, and just close by wishing you all the best for the festive season with Christmas and New Year, and hopefully some rest and relaxation time with loved ones and friends, etc. So take care. Thank you.